Hello, everybody. Hope you had a good week and are having a good evening. Tonight we are going to read The King and the Sea by Heinz, Janisch, and Wolf Erlbruch. I believe they are from Scandinavia somewhere. Don't know exactly where, but their names are harder to pronounce than some. Yes, see, this is translated, so you can't fault me. All right, this is 21 extremely short stories. The King and the Sea. I am the king, said the king. The sea answered with a whoosh. The king cocked his head thoughtfully. I see, he murmured. And he stood there quietly, listening to the waves. The King and the Cat. What are you doing? Asked the king. Warming my coat in the sun, said the cat, stretching out on the grass. The sun means a lot to you then, said the king. Yes, said the cat. Today the sun is my king. The king thought for a moment. Then he took off his coat, lay down beside the cat, and let the sun warm his skin. The King and the Shadow. Why do you have to follow me around? Asked the king. To stop you from coming up with stupid ideas, said the shadow, and to remind you that there are two sides to every story. So there are, murmured the king, staring at the long dark shadow cast by his small gold crown. The King and the Rain. My crown's going to get rusty, said the king. Can't you stop? Even if I do, said the rain, your crown will still rust, and so will you. True, said the king when he'd thought it over. In that case, I might as well take a shower. So he stood outside with his face to the sky and let the rain wash his cheeks. The King and the Tree. What do you do with your crown? Asked the king. Well, said the tree, I let birds live in it, and the wind. Children hide there too. I see, said the king, and he stood for a while, listening to the leaves. The King and the Squirrel. I can do handstands, the king told the squirrel, and headstands. The squirrel watched the king do a handstand, then a headstand. I can stand on one leg, said the king, and walk backwards with my eyes closed. The king showed the squirrel. The squirrel watched without a word. Then he bounded to the top of the highest tree and disappeared among the twigs and leaves. The king stood and stared after him. I can run really fast as well, he called. The King and the Dog. Sit, lie, come, shouted the king. I am the king. Stop, fetch, heel, he bellowed. Then he ran off after the dog. The King and the Ghost. I don't believe in ghosts, said the king. I don't believe in kings, said the ghost. Then one of us must be mistaken, said the king. So it seems, said the ghost, spiriting himself away. The King and the Cloud. Hello up there, said the king to the cloud. On your way so soon? Why don't you stay? You won't find a nicer kingdom. Green hills, lush fields, loamy soil. There are towers as high as... But the cloud had already moved on. I see, said the king with a quiet sigh. The King and the Trumpet. I am the king, said the king. Play for me. The trumpet kept quiet. I command you, said the king. The trumpet said nothing. The king held it to his lips and blew gently. The trumpet made a faint burp. That's better, said the king. He looked at the trumpet. Oh, I suppose you don't like playing on your own. He waited for a moment. Oh, all right, he said, taking a deep breath. The King and the Fishing Net. Why are you full of holes? The king asked the net. How will you catch everything for me like that? I won't catch everything, said the net. Only a few fish. The sea has to stay where it is. That's why I have holes. That makes sense, said the king, clearing his throat. What would I do with the sea at my palace? Who has room for a whole ocean? The King and the Bee. Buzz off, said the king, shooing the bee from his flower. Don't you know I'm the king? I'm the queen, said the bee, stinging the king's nose. The king in the picture. You're beautiful, the king said to the bird on his wall. Thank you, I think so too, said the bird, but I'm missing something. What's that? Asked the king. The wind under my wings, said the bird, flying away. The king and sleep. I'm the one in charge here, said the king. I'll decide when I'm tired. I'm the king. He yawned. I know your tricks, he said, sitting up straighter. A king doesn't take orders from anyone. He talked for a while, but his head was growing heavy, and his crown began to slip. Whoops, he muttered, catching it just in time. Then he fell asleep. The king and the knight. I can't see a thing, the king said to the knight. How about a bit more light? You'll have to talk to the day, said the knight. I look after darkness. The day takes care of light. I can do both, said the king, fetching a candle. The king and the star. What are you good for? Asked the king. You're so far away I can't reach you. What am I supposed to do with you? The star disappeared. Hey, it's all dark. Come back. The king stared up at the black sky. I miss you. You see, said the star, and gave the king a dazzling wink. The king and the sky. I need a blanket, said the king, this minute, and make it a good one. With that, it began to snow. Soft flakes fell around him. There's your blanket, said the sky as it covered the landscape in glittering white. The king gazed in wonder. Thank you, he said. The king and salt. My dinner tastes bland, cried the king. Someone forgot the salt. He heard roaring as windows and doors and windows flew open, and the sea rushed in over the table. That's more like it, said the king, picking up his fork. The king and the pencil. Talk to me, said the king to the pencil. Say something. Say yikes or ouch or thingamabob. Glad to oblige, said the pencil with a nod. The king and the book. How are you? Inquired the king. That's what I've been asking you all along, said the book. The king and the kings. The king stood on the shore. Here we are, the sea, the sky, the sun, and me. Kings, all of us. He swelled with pride. Just then an enormous shadow loomed beneath the waves, and a mountain rose from the water. The king was astonished. A whale, he said. A moment later, a small crab scuttled over his bare toes, and a white butterfly brushed against his nose. All right, said the king. You've made your point. He took off his crown, placed it on the sand. With a shout of laughter, he leaped into the sea. And that's the end. And I was wrong. They are not Scandinavian. They are Austrian and German. Thanks for reading. Have a good night.